Hi, and welcome to Marketing Optimization with AlexDesigns. I'm your host, Alex Harris, and today I'm happy to have Peep Laja. How you doing, Pep?
Hey, thanks for having me. Doing good.
Perfect. Pep is the founder of ConversionXL.com, and he also has a great agency called Marketech that builds websites that sell. Pep, to get started, I'd like to ask, what is your definition of optimization, and why is it beneficial?
Optimization is doing stuff better, getting more results out of whatever you're doing right now. So if you're trying to sell stuff, we'll help you do it better. You know, that's what optimizers do. So it's as simple as that. And why people should do it? I mean, why are you in business? You know, so we'll help you. You know, move the needle.
Yeah, well, there's always more improvement. So, you know, if you're not optimizing, you're definitely not growing. And the basis of optimizing is really to measure, figuring out where you were and getting to a new place. Always continually your baseline up.
Right, exactly, yeah.
So, do you guys have a framework for when you guys do conversion rate optimization for your clients?
So, a client comes in and says, "Hey, this is my website. I want to improve conversions." Let's say it's an e-commerce site. I want to sell more products. So our process is typically first, you know, talking to the client, figuring out where they're at, you know, what are the business challenges, all that stuff, getting to know the business. And the next step is research, conversion research, process that lasts about 12 to 4 weeks, depending on bureaucracy and availability of existing data, whether we need to go out and gather data, which we often do. And the research is two parts, qualitative and quantitative. Qualitative is the target users, understanding who they are, why they buy, how they want to buy, what's going on in their mind, you know, all that stuff. And we do that by customer surveys, website surveys, serving traffic on the website, phone interviews, chat logs, all that stuff, and we only ask open-ended questions. No, rate it from 1 to 5. That's not insight, because what we're after is insight, and insight is only comes from natural, you know, how people talk. And the other side of it is then quantitative data, Google Analytics, and you know, some companies of course use Adobe Site Catalyst or whatever, but it's same. And so with Google Analytics, number one step is health check, because on most websites that we work on, their analytics is set up incorrectly. It's not measuring all the things that needs to be measured, or is measuring incorrectly, or has some sort of flaws. It's rare when we don't have to do anything. It's already working great. And then had mouse tracking data, heat maps. So I start with a site walkthrough, do also quality assurance testing, cross-browser testing, cross-device testing, because bugs are the lowest hanging fruit. If your website is buggy with a browser, you're losing a ton of money, and so easy to find out. So we do the walkthrough, we do the heuristic human-led assessment, we map out problem areas of the website, and check into the data and see if the data confirms what we find during our expert analysis. And then, you know, once we identify what's wrong, we prioritize events, go in and fix them, and start from the scratch again. Run a test, learn, research, and so on.
Yeah, because I think, you know, going into a new client or wherever, you know, the client has been working on it for so long that they get tunnel vision, and they don't really see even those bugs or those problems, those obvious problems that may not allow someone to check out or even click the back button properly. So those are definitely the
most business owners, marketers, whatever, have never checked out from their own website using a phone or an unconventional browser, Internet Explorer 8. You know, they've never done it. So it's easy to assume that your development guys have taken care of all that, but often there is something.
Yeah, well, I love when I put up a new site, or I review a site and I look at it in IE8, and they're like, nobody uses IE8. I'm like, you're kidding me. Go into your analytics. I guarantee still between 5 and 10% of the people are still using IE8.
Right, exactly. So easy report in Google Analytics. You can compare conversions or revenue per browser and browser version. And now let's say that the Internet Explorer 11 converts at 5%. Let's just say an easy, nice number. And Internet Explorer 8 is like 0.5%. If we take the traffic, however many people use Internet Explorer 8, if it would convert the same as Internet Explorer 11, how much more money would you make over 12 months? And that's an easy ROI calculator, whether it's worth to have a developer fix the bugs.
Now, you mentioned Google Analytics, Site Catalyst, and some of the softwares using for analytics. But when you actually do start doing the testing, what softwares do you recommend to do the testing?
I personally use Optimizer, or at the agency we use Optimizer. We used to use Visual Website Optimizer. We switched, but they're both perfectly fine.
When you're figuring out those goals in analytics or A/B testing software, what type of goals do you track as your KPIs?
Well, it depends on the type of site you have. So if it's an e-commerce site, it will be different from a lead generation site. So for ultimately, you want to measure money as if you can, right? With leads, sometimes you can't. You just measure the number of leads you get. With e-commerce, it's easy. It's about the money, how much revenue you're making, because you have a variation that can have more absolute transactions, meaning more conversions, but less revenue. So it's important to measure to the money. And also, you have to look at conversions per layer or stage of the website. So instead, for instance, in the case of e-commerce, we have homepage, category pages, product pages, cart, checkout steps. So you want to also keep an eye on the percentage of traffic that moves from one stage to another. And on product page, you want to measure cart ads. How many people add, not how many people visit the cart page, because that's a different thing. So how many people add products to the cart, and you want to optimize your product page for cart ads, and so on and so forth. So you need to look at it as steps, micro conversions.
Yeah, that's a good point. Micro conversions is key, because everyone tries to focus on that conversion rate. What's that highest percentage? But if you can just continue to move people closer to the finish line, increment by increment,
you're widening the funnel. Right?
Yeah, exactly. Now, what would you say are some top 3 mistakes that people create when starting to do A/B testing?
Well, I guess most common mistake that people do is calling tests way too early. You're running it for 2 days, and one of the versions seems to outperform the other one for by however much, and maybe you declare the version B winner, even though it would have lost in the end had you given it more time. So ending tests way too early is definitely the biggest problem. Every test should be run for a minimum of 1 week or test weeks at a time, because the conversion rate can vary from day to day significantly. Also, you want to have at least like 100 absolute conversions per variation, and ideally way more, because you need to segment your conversion. So let's say that version B converts a little bit better than A, and then you look at the segments, new, returning, different browsers, devices, and look at the conversion rates across segments. And in order to understand whether those numbers make any sense, you then need to look at the absolute conversions per segment. So that means that in order to accurately segment the data, you need, a significant amount of conversion. So I would recommend 250 absolute conversions per variation.
You write a lot of great content on ConversionXL along with your team about really, overall improving conversion rates, improving revenue, great unique selling propositions. What would be some of your top tips to help people increase their conversion rates?
It is important to remember that we're not, when analyzing, what can we do here, how to make it better. People are always looking for rules or like formulas that always work. What is the ideal product page layout? Stuff like that. And that's chasing the goose that doesn't exist, because websites are highly contextual. So there is no layout that works across websites or audiences. So it's important to think in page goals, and it's important to think objectives and principles. So number one principle that people should optimize for is clarity. People will buy more from your website if they understand whether your website is for them or not, why they should buy from you and not the competition, what are all the benefits they get if they buy from you, and so on and so forth. So clarity is superbly important. Clarity of the value proposition, clarity of the product description, of the checkout process, all of that. So assess each page for clarity. So that's actually what sets professional optimizers apart from wannabes. Is wannabes thinking tactics and layouts, not concepts and goals. And the number one goal for homepage of a website is, well, there are actually two main goals. One is make it clear what the site is about and for whom and so on, basically a value proposition. And number two, get people off the homepage, like down the sales funnel somewhere. So when you ask, what should a perfect homepage look like? I mean, there are a million different ways how you can construct the perfect website that achieves these two goals. So,
well, I think one of the key things that people just don't really get the concept of that the internet literally is interactive, and people actually want to do things on your website. There's different people who want to read stuff. There's different people who want to watch videos. But the one common trait that they all have is they want to actually interact. People worry about too much about if they should scroll or if they should allow them to click. People want to scroll and they want to click to actually move closer.
Well, I'm not sure if I'm entirely agreeing with you here. It depends on the site and the context and all that stuff. And people can scroll very well. I mean, didn't Mac OS remove scroll bar? But that being said, what goes above fold still gets by far the most attention. So it is important to know these usage behaviors, because look at any heat map, scroll map for any website.
Yeah.
It's the same everywhere. It's like the further down the page you go, the less people will see that area. So even though they scroll, you still have to bear in mind that the top part gets more attention.
Yeah, because that's a very good point. Because if there is valuable information for your brand that you want people to read more because you can't fit it above the fold, ensure that there's visual elements above the active window, so people know that there's essentially more information there.
Yeah, visual cues, very important.
Visual cues. We talked about A/B testing. We talked about some tips about increasing conversion in general. But what if the site is not able to get 100 conversions per test? What tips would you say for low traffic sites, or maybe sites just starting out? What would be some conversion tips for those kind of sites?
So first of all, when you have a low traffic site, you need to go for changes that have a huge impact. So you can't test timid stuff that I change the button call to action here and see what happens. Like, even if you get a 15% increase in conversions with that, which is unlikely, then, and you get like 3 sales a day, or like maybe 1 sale a day, then how would you know really that something changed? Because 15% isn't going to move your absolute numbers that much. So that's one. So if you test something, you need to go for big, bold changes. And you don't need A/B testing to optimize a website. And actually, more useful than quantitative data is qualitative data. And you don't need any traffic to get qualitative data. You can do user testing, and you can recruit people from usertesting.com. You can survey those people that have given you money in the past. Or you can even figure out where your ideal target group is hanging out and go and interview these people, even if they have never heard from your business. Use them as somebody that you want to sell to and talk to them. Real insights come from qualitative data, and that the insights you get, you can based on the insights, you can do some changes on your website, whatever you learn about these people, how they want to buy or whatever. So I always find that qualitative can be much more insightful than quantitative.
That leads me to my next question, is really segmenting out how people arrive at your site, whether they're on a mobile experience or a desktop experience. I think that's one of the newest technologies that people don't differentiate.
Right, and it's a complicated topic because, it used to be widely believed that people surfing on smartphones, they're smartphone is a mindset. I'm on the go. I don't have time for this. So the mobile first approach to design and all this great stuff. And mobile first I love because it forces you to figure out what are the essentials of your website. However, the recent studies into this have revealed that people, at least half the time when they're surfing the web with their smartphones, they're not on the go. They're at home, lying on their couch. So they're actually not in a different mindset. So it gets very complicated, and there are no easy answers here. I wish I could say, hey, people on mobile phones, you just show orange buttons. So you need to really dig in and just take your time analyzing. And professional conversion companies, well, I don't know about others, but when we analyze a site, we take weeks. So literally, I spent 18 hours in a row digging in Google Analytics looking for insights. So if you're not doing that and you're not finding insights, don't complain. You're not working hard enough. So insights is what you should be after, and they're not easy to find. You need to put the effort in.
It's so interesting because I can relate to it so well, because looking for that needle in the haystack of just some, peak interest to, put together a hypothesis. Oh, this is the data that we're going to base our hypothesis on to figure out that this experience is kind of the right one. So maybe we should try this and maybe we should try that. And then getting, more people into the team to come up with their own hypothesis as well.
Sure, and it's very helpful to do teamwork here. Yeah. For instance, watching user testing videos, it's very helpful to do it, 2 or 3 people together.
Yeah.
And, nobody needs to be a usability expert. You can all just see stuff that is confusing to users. Mm-hmm. So, just need to put in the time and include more people. And I would also say that it's not really, you don't need to spend 3 weeks on a perfect hypothesis. If you're starting to see something, you can just right away go and see if that makes a difference or not.
Yeah.
And if it does, you can dig further and improve it even more. But before you invest a whole bunch of time in something, you can just start testing it out. That's the whole lean UX, philosophy, which is a great book, by the way, Lean UX.
What I've seen is that people are potentially going to buy through e-commerce on an iPad. On a mobile phone, they more likely would engage to maybe call or fill out a form. Have you seen the same type of things?
Sure. When we look at the conversion rates per device on an average on a typical e-commerce site, then we see that smartphones convert at about half the rate of desktops, and iPads and other tablets should be either the same as desktop or maybe 10% lower.
Yeah.
If your tablets are converting, let's say desktop converts at 6 and tablet at 4%, then that means that you have some user experience issues with surfing your site with a tablet. So then what you should do is to hand everybody in your team a different tablet, start browsing your site on a tablet and complete a checkout and do user testing on people with tablets. You'll find those problem areas. The main thing to remember is people on tablets and smartphones don't like to type at all.
Yeah, that's true.
So critical thing for e-commerce companies is store credit card data. Like, don't make returning users, people who bought from you before, don't make them type in the credit card data again. So store credit card numbers like Amazon does. And imagine the Amazon flow is really amazing. So you've bought from Amazon before, you have an account. Amazon sends you an email, and you're on your smartphone. You click from the email, takes you to the product page. You add to cart, and it already has your shipping, your billing address, and you just specify whatever, 2-day shipping, 3-day shipping, basically 4 clicks, and you've bought the product. The only thing that you need to type in is your password.
Yeah.
It's the only thing. Because Amazon has figured it out. Mobile is growing. It's growing across segments, and people don't like to type. So if you can reduce that friction, you're going to make a lot more money on mobiles.
Yeah, especially the amount of people that are coming online. Majority of those people aren't coming online through a desktop. They're coming online through their mobile experience. Because,
right.
Facebook is the one that's proven that. I like to ask people who've been in the conversion space for a while, what do you see as, conversion as an industry standard and kind of the future of optimization? Do you have any opinions on, where the industry is going and what do you see in the future?
My prediction is that all SEO companies will aim to become conversion companies, and those who don't will become obsolete. So conversions is how you can move the dial. PPC, very expensive and getting more and more expensive, right?
Mm-hmm.
SEO, increasingly harder. So conversions is how you can make more money and reduce customer acquisition costs, so you could afford to buy more PPC traffic or any other display ads, retargeting, whatever.
Yeah.
So that is going to be trend. CRO is becoming mainstream. How many SEO blogs are there out there right now? Between 3-5 million, something like that. How many CRO blogs? Well, maybe 20, 30, I don't know.
Yeah.
So that these things are gonna even up.
Yeah.
Trust me.
Let's close by telling people how they can find out more about you and your agency as well.
ConversionXL.com. Come read my stuff. We work really hard on putting out quality content, and you'll make more money.
Perfect. Thanks a lot, Pat.
Thank you.
Thank you for watching the Marketing Optimization Podcast with AlexDesigns. Please remember to subscribe to all of the videos in my YouTube channel. Thank you.